Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Palmer McIntyre. I'm the coordinator for the Great Trails State Coalition, and we are thrilled today to bring you a special presentation from our Great Trails State Conference from last fall called Auditing Trails for Health. We've got Carol Hoover with us today. She is a Triad regional volunteer for AARP, and we're expecting Rebecca Gilbert to come online as well. She works for AARP, and she is the Associate State Director for Advocacy and Outreach. So they're going to be a great resource for us to think about programming our trails and how our trails interact in the built environment for people to get around for transportation health benefits. And what we're doing today, we're recording this so it becomes part of a digital library that will be accessible on our website at greattrailstatecoalition.org. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Carol, and she will maybe say a little bit more about herself and her role with the AARP, and then go ahead and start the presentation. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Palmer. It is a pleasure to be here with everyone today. And I will give you a little bit of background because I actually even find it interesting myself. So I retired in 2018 and was trying to figure out what I was going to do in my retired life, in my new phase. And one of the things that really interested me was active transportation. And I wanted to get involved in active transportation and try to promote it because I felt like it was good for your health. I felt like it was something that everyone needed to be a part of, even if they don't want to be a part of it. But so I first started volunteering under a city committee. It was and I still am part of that. I'm actually the chair, but it's the Bicycle Pedestrian Active Mobility Advisory Committee for the city. And its focus is on building out infrastructure for pedestrians, for bicyclists, and for people that roll, with a concentration also in transit. So everything that's transportation not related to cars and to commercial vehicles. So I started my interest there, and then I went to a conference for Bike Walk North Carolina, and AARP was a sponsor, and I participated in a walk audit. And I started learning more about volunteering through AARP and the resources and support that they provide to volunteers. And I found that it was absolutely fabulous. And so they reached out and wanted to know if I wanted to be a volunteer for AARP. And I said, yes, if I can concentrate on active transportation. And they said, by all means, that's what we do. We support our volunteers where their interest is and what they want to do. So that then joined me together with my active transportation focus with AARP. And it has been a fabulous partnership. They support me 100% of the way. But we're not here to talk about myself. We're here to talk about active transportation. And Rebecca, I'll go ahead and go through my segment, and I'll go back, and then you can cover AARP at the end, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone, and I'm happy to introduce myself for just a minute as well, if that's okay with you all. My name is Rebecca Gilbert. I'm the Associate State Director of AARP North Carolina, and I personally live in the Charlotte area, and Carol is an absolutely wonderful volunteer of ours who lives just a bit north of us and really spearheads and leads on a lot of our age-friendly work, walkability work, and really making our communities better for older adults as they age in North Carolina. That is continually getting older and older as the years go on. So I've been at AARP for about, let me do the math, 7-ish years. And I've worked in our national office in DC as well as in our North Carolina office. So while my focus is advocacy at the state, local, and federal level, we also do educational programs and walk audits and all the fun things that Carol is a great advocate for.
Thank you. All right, we're going to jump into the presentation. And I just wanted to show this screen. It is the picture of AARP's Livable Communities, and many of you are probably aware of that.
Carol, we are not seeing your slides. So
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. So many of you are probably aware of Livable Communities because we have a lot of livable communities, designated communities across the state of North Carolina. And these are all of the areas where you can be involved as a part of livable communities. And as I mentioned, my focus area is transportation. So transportation, when most people think of transportation, and I've kind of mentioned this already, they usually think of cars and commercial vehicles. But every day, everyone starts out as a pedestrian. So everyone is always a pedestrian. Some people are always a pedestrian. They are not walking to get into their car. They may be walking to catch a bus. They may be rolling, as you can see the two pictures here, or they may be walking to their bicycle. So everyone is always a pedestrian, and that to me is important. The importance of transportation, as we know, it can either open things up for us or it can block us. So it can open us up to health. As I mentioned, it can make us healthier, both mentally and physically. It provides access to food and nutrition. It gets us from work back to home, home back to work, to our neighborhoods, to education. Things that can block it, though, are lack of language skills. The other forms of transportation do a little bit of polluting, both to our air and to our water. And once you start digging into transportation even deeper, there is racism and discrimination that's involved, because we may not take care of some parts of our cities as well as we do other parts of our cities. Why is walking important? It improves our heart health. It improves our mental state of mind. I don't know how many of you resorted to walking during COVID, but that was a great way to help relieve some of the stress that we were feeling as we were locked up in our houses and away from our friends. I don't know about each of you, but it helps to make me a more creative person. It gives me that time to smell the fresh air and feel the warmth of the sun on my body, and just opens my mind to more creativity. So I don't need to tell everybody on this call how important walking is, because that's what we're all focused on. But what keeps us from walking? And this picture that you see on the left-hand side points out a lot of the things that are listed on the right side. Sidewalks sometimes end. Why do they end? I don't know. I haven't been able to figure that out, but they just end. At this particular intersection, while you can't see it, those two streets that that street that you have to walk across is a very wide intersection. Those lanes are probably 15 feet or 20 feet each, and there's no crosswalk there. So if you're walking along Cemetery Road, which is here in Winston, your sidewalk ends. It's broken up at the end. If you're in a wheelchair, you can't get off of it. There's no curb cut. And if you tried to cross across the street, again, there's no crosswalk, there's no lights. It's just a bad intersection. Also, things that can keep people from walking are dimly lighted sidewalks if they're trying to get around when it's in the dusk, dawn, or evening. And public transit stops. I never paid much attention to them prior to getting into this role, but since being in this role, I am amazed at how poorly some transit stops are for individuals that are riding the buses. They're just in dangerous locations. They don't have access to a place to sit. It's not good. So this is what keeps me going and keeps me active in the community. And the stats. Many of you have seen these stats over the years. I tried to update this stat. They had information through the middle of 2024, but in 2022, we hit an all-time high. 7,500 pedestrians were killed. That's over 20 pedestrians per day in the United States. That should not happen. In North Carolina, I did have 2024 statistics. There were 287 pedestrians killed last year and 41 bicyclists. Even our trails cross busy highways and interstates, so our trail crossings are of utmost importance to try to keep our pedestrians and bicyclists safe. People injured last year, 2,444 pedestrians and 796 bicyclists. That's greater than 7 people per day in North Carolina that are injured or killed. Of the pedestrians that are killed, of all of the pedestrian crashes, 10% of them result in fatalities, and that's higher than the rate for bicyclists. It's higher than the rate for cars. It's just something that we need to remember and try to create a safer environment for people. Speed, you've probably seen statistics like this before, but at 20 miles per hour, 5% of the people that are hit result in fatalities. As you increase that speed, the rate of fatality goes up even more significantly. So you can see the statistics at 30 miles an hour and 40 miles an hour, the difference in the 20. It is important to know that slower speeds saves lives, and we need to fight for slower speeds. All right, getting into the AARP resources that can help us. What can we do to increase active mobility? Well, one thing that you've seen is to improve the sidewalks. Have connected sidewalks. But also, what can we do in addition to fixing the infrastructure? We can lead walking groups, which many of you are doing with your trails. We can report issues and problems that we see. Lots of times we're out there, we see issues and problems, but we don't know what to do. So figure out how to report those. Organize and conduct walk audits, which I'm going to talk about. The city, I'm amazed at how many public meetings we have in Winston-Salem, but anytime there is a public meeting, I advocate for attending, listening in, taking action, going. And then the last thing, as we all know, that is very important, we need to vote what our thoughts are. So what is a walk audit? A walk audit, as organized by AARP, is a wonderful activity that you can do. It brings people together. And one of the things you need to consider when you're trying to organize a walk audit is bringing your elected officials to the walk audit so that they can see from their point of view what is going on. What can that walk audit do? It builds community. It brings your community together to do this as one. It educates your residents and it educates your public officials on the real issues that are out there and supporting better infrastructure. And it empowers us. So what can it lead to? It can lead to reduced traffic congestion, healthier and active lifestyles. Studies prove that it increases property values and it creates safer streets for everyone. And who can do it? Everyone can do a walk audit. As a matter of fact, there are 2 walk audits coming up in the next 2 Saturdays in Clemens. And if you want to participate, reach out to me and I can give you the information and you can come participate in the Village of Clemens walk audits that we're performing. Walk audits are not just about streets. They can also be about multi-use paths and trails. AARP, as I said, is a great place to come for resources. There were some volunteers that were interested in auditing trails rather than sidewalks. And so they worked with AARP to create some resources that are available that can be used for trails and multi-use paths, specifically for those. So it was just a little bit of tailoring from what was available for the sidewalks, but it is available. And if you are interested in any of those, I am happy to provide the information to you. Now I'm going to walk you through just a few pictures of things that we found on walk audits that we performed here in Winston-Salem. And these specific pictures are around the Winston-Salem State University campus, where you have students that are on their feet walking all the time from class or to residence hall or to athletic events or wherever they're going. So you can see here on the left side a picture of a sidewalk that has collapsed. How many times do we see that? And for those of us on our feet walking, have we ever considered about someone rolling and the trouble that that causes for someone rolling? The middle picture is vegetation that's growing over a bridge that crosses over a railroad track. And it is taking up more than, well, actually it reached all the way across that sidewalk. And the street, while you don't see any cars there right now, is a very, very busy street. And the cars are flying by at 45 miles an hour, even though the posted speed limit is 35. On the right side, you can actually see a picture of a faded crosswalk. The other thing that was difficult about this particular intersection, we timed the stoplight for the crossing of the individuals, and you could not cross it in the 15 seconds that they provided. So we advocated for longer periods of time for pedestrians to cross. In this next set of pictures, you can see where the ground tactical indicator has been ripped away from the corner. So someone that is vision impaired would not know where or how to cross or that the curb cut is coming. The center picture shows another unlevel sidewalk, another tripping hazard. And the third picture shows a light that is hidden in and amongst the tree limbs and leaves. So at night, it doesn't provide good lighting for those that are trying to walk. I'll stop there. I think you get the gist of the pictures and the things that you can find. We actually did have a elected official working with us on this particular walk, and it was wonderful to have her there because the fixes came sooner than if we were advocating as individuals. The last step to the walk audit, which is very important, is the report that you provide back. And this took quite a bit of time. This does take quite a bit of time to organize, but you need to provide these different pieces to any report that you're trying to take back to have your fixes done. So you need an introduction slide, show the location, describe your auditing group, who was involved from the community and other groups that you had there. Show the most compelling highlights, because it's amazing how many different things you can find. So what are the most important things to fix? make sure you point those out in the presentation, but do have a list of all that you found. And the most important thing is provide solutions. Planners actually provided that information. They said that they get tired of people coming with complaints and things to do. So help us identify solutions that can be done. Be complimentary of what they do provide to you, and then summarize your findings. And that has resulted in a very successful way to take what you've done back to the city. All right, I'm going to slide back to the beginning of the presentation and turn it over to Rebecca.
Excellent. What I'm going to talk about is just take a little step back and talk about what AARP does in our community and all across the state, and specifically talk about our Livable Communities work, which really paves the way for our walkability and walk audits in our communities. And I'll give a couple examples too, just that I know about in the Charlotte region, which is where I live and work most often, of some opportunities that exist to make communities more walkable across our state. All right. If you guys don't know, AARP is the nation's largest nonprofit and nonpartisan organization that's exclusively dedicated to making sure that older adults over 50, but really people of all ages, can choose how they live as they age. We've been in existence for over 60 years, and throughout these 60 years, we've been serving our members and creating positive social change. We do that at the national level and also at the state level. So we have 53 state offices, which is the 50 states plus DC, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. And we have over 38 million members nationwide, and we're growing every day. So it gets a little confusing, but we have 3 entities that make up AARP. So we have the 501c4 nonprofit, which I work for, Carol volunteers for, and it basically means that we're a social mission organization where everything we do, where we educate, all of our programs are free of charge. We make sure they're as accessible for everybody, no matter your economic status, and we believe that knowledge is power. We also have our foundation, which is our fundraising entity, our 501c3, that actually raises money for our nonprofit to do our work. And then the final part that a lot of people know about is AARP services. People think, you know, we sell insurance. I don't sell anything. I legally can't sell anything. And that's where our kind of membership is housed. So while we are a membership organization, we're also an education organization. Our information is not exclusive to members. I personally do not care if you're an AARP member or not. I want to share all of the information that helps people live their best lives as they get older. So our role in our community, and particularly North Carolina, is that we act as a wise friend and a fierce defender. So that means that we empower people to choose how they live as they age by giving them all of the information they need to make their own decisions about their lives. And our goal, our vision, is to make sure that we live in a society where everyone can live with dignity and purpose and fulfill their goals and dreams, that there are no barriers in their way. We try to be everyday innovators in aging, focusing on things that matter to older adults now and in the future. And we show up as a wise friend in your life and fierce defender on your behalf, which means we try to present information that a friend would tell you in a way that a friend would tell you. Nothing super complicated, no jargon, big words, things that are easy to understand and digest and make sense to you. And we also defend older adults by advocating on behalf of people of all ages to really make sure that we pass legislation at the local level, state, and federal that really helps people to age the way they want to. So this slide is important because it has, our great state of North Carolina, and we are broken up into 5 different regions. There are people like me across the entire state, and the reason we do that and have these 5 regions is so that we can remain hyper localized and really cater our work and our programming and education to the communities in which we live and serve. So I personally cover the Charlotte region. My colleague, Rebecca Chaplin, covers the Mountain region, which includes Asheville. My coworker, Mark Hensley, he covers the Triad region. Heather is the Triangle, the research triangle of Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill. And my friend over in the coastal region, Rosalie, covers all the way out to the Outer Banks. And we work really closely as a team. So if you are living and working in a community that's a different color than me, that is covered by a different colleague of mine, we work very closely together on joint programs across the state to make our work happen. And their contact information is here too. So one of the biggest priorities for AARP is to foster livable communities where folks are living and working in their communities, in their neighborhoods, and that they are fit for them no matter what phase of life they're in, whether they're age 8 or 80. We want to make sure that they are able to get around, whether it be through walking or biking or public transportation, easily and accessibly. One thing I'm going to talk about in a second is we have age-friendly designated communities that are all across the state. We have dozens of them now. We also offer a community challenge grant, which is an opportunity for smaller nonprofits to carry out small-scale projects that make their communities more livable. And then online, by going to aarp.org.livable, we actually have a livability index that calculates how livable your community is based on your address. So that community challenge grant, the reason it's top of mind is because our applications just closed. I think we had in North Carolina, I think we had about 75 applications, which is really exciting. And our community challenge grant program is nationwide, part of our nationwide Livable Communities initiative. And it helps places become good to live for all residents of all ages. It's not just exclusive to older adults. So it helps communities make immediate improvements to jumpstart longer term projects in support of residents of any age. The program started in 2017, and since then we've awarded more than $6 million through 560 grants in every single state, which is really awesome, really exciting. We've done some really cool projects. And by immediate improvements, I mean that, sometimes the funds start off a project, or maybe it's for, a 6-month initiative that is the first phase in a multi-phase plan. But there are some really cool projects that are going on. And one of the projects I wanted to mention that has to do with walkability was last year. There's a nonprofit in Charlotte called Sustain Charlotte that works a lot on transportation, walkability, bikeability. And what they did is they made an age-friendly map, an online interactive map of all of the trails. And in Charlotte, we have greenway systems, which are like paved trails. And they did walk audits with volunteers, with older adults, to walk the trails to identify places that were age-friendly, such as water fountains and restrooms and benches and covered areas. And they made those part of the interactive map. So you could search online, hey, I want to find, a walking trail that's paved near my zip code that has multiple water fountains, and you'd be able to search for trails that fit your needs. So that was a really cool project that they did. It's probably part of a multi-phase project because they want it to have an app component too, kind of like All Trails, if you guys know that. So that was the first phase in a longer term project, but that was something really exciting, focusing on walkability and transportation. This slide is that livability index that I mentioned. So you can put in your personal address, a zip code, and it will calculate your livability score based on adherence to the different domains of livability that Carol touched on a bit ago. So these are those 8 domains, and we're focused today on the transportation side of things. But just so you guys know a little bit more about what the other domains are, I know Carol touched on them, but having a lot of outdoor spaces and buildings for people to gather and socially connect is another domain. Having affordable housing for people of all ages, and also accessible housing and safe housing for older adults if they choose to age in place. Also opportunities for social participation, where you connect with people of similar interests. Having access to health services and community supports such as health centers and hospitals in your area. Having respect and social inclusion for people of all abilities, all races, all genders, and all ages. Also having opportunities for civic participation and employment. Jobs for people of all ages. A lot of folks are going back to work or are working part-time after maybe not working during COVID. So having opportunities like that, and having opportunities for folks to volunteer, which also increases that social participation component of livability. And importantly, communication and information, which is something that we really focus on at AARP and kind of encompasses all of the domains. So information is great, but if you can't access it, that is a huge barrier. We want to make sure that everyone can access the information to ensure that their communities are walkable and livable, ensure that there are ways for them to transport from point A to point B. So it's really important in a livable community for information to be present and available.
Or back to the beginning.
Yeah, look at that.
Thank you both. That was a wonderful presentation. I mean, I think it's abundantly clear that AARP is an impactful resource for trail partners across the state, and that sidewalks and the built environment for pedestrians and bicyclists are critical connectors to trail assets in any community. So I learned a lot today. I really appreciate the presentation again, and would love to open up the floor to some questions, but also thank AARP for being a member of the Great Trail State Coalition. Y'all been members for as long as we've had members. So thank you for that. But yeah, what questions do y'all have? Have you done walk audits in your community? Is this something you've thought about? And what maybe impacts, if you've done one, have you witnessed? So take yourself off mute and jump in with a comment or a question.
Hey, Palmer. So I'm John Wood with Benish. I'm here in Charlotte as well, Rebecca. And thank you to you and Carol for this good presentation. This, as a landscape architect, this is a lot of what we certainly do when we're doing our trail planning and greenway planning. So it's nice to see that AARP is partnering up to do this kind of stuff as well.
Great, thank you for your comment. And greenways are a big passion of mine. I'm an avid runner and trail runner, so I frequent them a lot, and I get so excited when there's a new greenway connector. But also, it's so nice, especially on nice days here like today, to see people of all ages biking and walking and pushing their babies and dogs and strollers, and really seeing all different types of people on these greenways and trails, because it shows that they're easily accessible for people of all ages. And that's all we want. We want people to be able to get from point A to point B safely, and in a way that's accessible to them. They're really working in Charlotte specifically on making the greenways go more places, not just, between pretty point A to pretty point B, but really be a mode of transportation for folks to get to doctor's appointments and the grocery store and all of the places that they need to go in addition to want to go.
Yes, I can remember on Little Sugar Creek Greenway, when the dry cleaners used to be at Park Road Shopping Center, I would see people walking with their dry cleaning on the Greenway.
So that's right where I live. I live very close to Park Road Shopping Center. So as the Greenway, Little Sugar Creek has become expanded, I still see people doing that, and it brings me joy.
Well, any other questions or comments? Well, thank you all so much for being here today. This is a very valuable presentation, and it is recorded and it will be on our website soon. So if you have any other questions, we're here for you. You can reach out to me or reach out to Carol or Rebecca as well. So get involved with your AARP regional contacts. They can be a great resource for you. Well, thank you, everyone. I'll give you back a little bit of your lunch hour. I hope you have a great rest of your week and enjoy this beautiful weather.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.